Today's video, the IBM 5170 or the IBM AT.
We review old technology from games to old PCs, and don't forget the toys. Oh yeah, ancient electronics, we cover it all.
So today we're looking at another iconic computer, probably not as iconic as the 5150, but this is the IBM AT, and this is the fourth computer in IBM's sort of personal computer line. First we had the 5150, then we had the IBM XT. Well, the first one was also known as the IBM PC. Then we had the IBM XT. Then we had the IBM XT 286, which is kind of a rare in-between between the XT and this. And then we have the AT. I believe the AT stands for Advanced Technology. And this was IBM's 286 computer. Although, like I said, they did have the XT that had a 286 prior to this. That was kind of an in-between sort of model. Although I've heard it's actually a little faster than this machine in some respects. But yeah, this is my AT machine, my IBM 5170 AT. And if you're looking at it, you may notice it's in pretty rough shape. It is scuffed up, it is gross, it is rusty. There's chips on the side of it, like plastic pieces where the switch is for the PSU. It's dusty. It is really gross. And there's plenty of videos on this machine on the YouTube interspace, whatever you want to call it. And you know, they're in way better condition. They're brand new, never been used videos of these machines. And, but here's the thing. I got this guy for $5 from a guy's garage, so you can't beat that. So during the course of this video, we're going to be looking at this machine. I've got a lot of upgrades for it. We're going to upgrade it pretty decently. We're going to stay period correct, more or less. We're going to stay 80s, period correct, mid-80s. This machine came out in '84, I believe, the AT series. So we're going to try to stay around there. We're going to go a little bit into the late 80s. We're going to try not to leave the 80s with this guy. But yeah, I'm going to try to restore it where I can, but I'm not really... I can get a lot of these guys running, but I'm not really like a restoration expert as far as like... you know, I've retro-brighted a couple times, but I'm not a pro at it. I'm not really good at like painting and matching colors and stuff like that. So we're going to try to restore it the best we can, but I don't know. No promises. We'll do what we can. But first, actually, I'm not even sure this works. It's just been sitting since I got it for about 2 years. I just haven't got around to it and collecting the parts I wanted to upgrade it either. So I think I recall bringing it home and booting it up, and it did power on, and it did seem to work. But it's been sitting for like 2 years. I don't even know if that's a true memory, so I don't even know if that really happened. So as far as I know, this might not even work, and that's going to put a damper on this video. But yeah, I guess the first thing to do is we'll just take a quick look at the back, and then just plug it in, see if it works. Then we'll go with the upgrades, and we'll take a look at the motherboard and things like that. Okay, so here's a quick look at the back here. We just have our power supply. Same kind of setup here with the plugs. Oh, okay, that's the monitor one. I was thinking, never mind. So we've got the double plug. We've got the standard 3-prong, although that looks a little square as opposed to that weird shape most of them are. And then we have our pass-through for plugging a monitor directly in. You can use the same kind of monitors as the IBM PC, the monochrome, but I think most of these probably, well, these were still office machines, so a lot of them still probably use the monochrome monitors, but you could also use the CGA and EGA monitors. Yeah, that's not too much else. Uses a standard AT keyboard. Probably like a Model M. I actually don't have one on me right now. I have one in storage far away, which I'm not able to get to. So unfortunately, I'll just have to use a generic keyboard. And there's a card here. I'm not even sure what's in here. We have our 8 slots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have our 8. They're going to be ISA. I believe some are 8-bit, some are 16-bit. We'll have to take a look inside. This looks like a printer or a serial card. And then right here it looks like, I think I put this in there, that's a VGA card. I just kind of put that in there for convenience because I don't have a CGA monitor or an EGA monitor out at the time. But yeah, we're not gonna leave this in there. Not quite period correct. So I guess if we wanted, we could track down a really early VGA card and throw that in there. But I really want to go with EGA right now, but we'll get to that in a moment. I'm pretty excited about that. You'll see why. But yeah, I guess let's open her up. You know what? Before we open her up, let's just plug her in and let's see if we get something on the monitor. Let's see if it actually boots up. What the hell? Alright, so we've got it on the floor here. Got this generic keyboard hooked up to it. It's all hooked up. So I guess we'll power it up and we'll see if anything happens. So, alright, here we go. I'm actually a little worried on this one, but that doesn't sound great. Oh, monitor kicked in. Now these should have a hard drive. I believe they all came standard with a hard drive, but I don't know. 512 kilobytes, okay. System options not set. 10, okay, let's just, well, this is good. This is something. Let me hit F1 and see what happened. Nothing. Wait, something's happening. I wonder if it will, starting MS-DOS! Sorry for the glare with the lights. I'm just doing this real quick. Okay, so there is a hard drive in here, and it is very slowly... Ooh, that sounds gross. Oh, what the heck is this? Look, I don't know if the camera's picking up, but there's a lot of distortions. I think that's the video card. I think I just threw in like a half-working ISA VGA card, so that's probably the video card, not the machine or the monitor. I'm not sure, but right now it's good enough that it's working. So, cool. It looks like the hard drive, the original hard drive. I had a hard drive controller and like an MFM hard drive to throw in here in case the one that's supposed to be in there wasn't working, but it looks like it is. You know what? I'm horrible with math, but I don't know. That might be what, like a 55 megabyte hard drive, maybe? I don't know. We'll have to. I'll look at it. I'll open it. Obviously, we'll take a look inside. But this is interesting. So this is like a DOS shell. So I'll have to. Gee, I don't even remember it booting up to this. That's really cool. I'm real excited about that. 512 megabytes of RAM. I think that's standard. I don't think that came with 640 standard. So yeah, I'm going to poke around here a little bit. I'll let you know if I see anything interesting. Else we're gonna open it up. And also good, it looks like the LEDs are working okay. Here I'm gonna run, I'm gonna utilize the hard drive here real quick, and yep, so that's working too. So yeah, I exited that, I guess it's some kind of shell program, and I just went straight into DOS. And yeah, okay, cool. So I'm gonna, there wasn't anything interesting. I went into games, there's like nothing there. So we're just gonna open it up, take a look inside. Yeah, there's just a lot of rust, even like some paint. This side's really bad, but probably for like a real full restoration, you'd want to like sand all this down to the bare metal and then maybe repaint it. I don't know, that's a lot of work that I'm probably not going to do. I guess you could, the cheap way would just be paint over it, but I think when you do that and there's rust underneath, it will like bubble up and flake off, and that's not really a good solution. But this is a cool machine, but I don't know if I want to be in it for all the main restoration. I don't know. We'll see. This thing is heavy. It's like all metal, mostly metal, super heavy. Watch your back. If you're old man, if you're like almost on the precipice of being an old man like myself. Yeah, it's heavy. it's a pain to lug around. It's just a lot of metal. I mean, other than it being an IBM itself, something you have that's IBM has a lot of charm. I have a couple machines just because they're IBMs. If you really want a 286, there's better off. You just get a generic clone. It's probably, you're better off. In a lot of cases, you're just better off with a generic clone, but I get it. Just having an actual, authentic IBM has its own sort of charm. So I've taken out the screws in the back, so we're going to take this case off and take a look at the motherboard. Alright, and here we are inside the computer. So this is a later model. I believe this is the latest model they made with the Type 3 motherboard, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. Here we have a 200 watt power supply. I don't know if this is original or not, because I read that originally they had like a 192 watt power supply, but I don't know, 200 watts pretty close, so I'm not sure. These should be, I believe these are both 1.2 megabyte floppy drives. This thing should be able to handle high density drives, no problem. So I should be able to install like a 1.44 megabyte floppy without an issue. Now here's the hard drive. Not sure if this is the original one. I believe originally these came with 20 megabyte hard drives, and I think this was bigger than that. It does look like an IBM, manufactured for IBM Armonk, New York. So maybe this is original. And then, well, that's, oh, okay. It almost looks like it's a different, because look how it's so like far down. This is a huge drive. I believe it's an MFM drive. I guess it could be an RLL. Not sure. But yeah, I think that might be an original drive in there. So interesting. So right here we have the controller card for the I believe maybe the hard drives and the floppy drive, because with these MFM RLLs, I believe you have two cables, a data and then something else, and then one of these might be the floppy. Don't know for sure. This card also has the speaker. I think that's the speaker. No, I don't think that's the speaker. I think that's probably the, well, I would say it's the hard drive activity light, but maybe it is the speaker. I'm not sure. But yeah, we've got that there. So we'll take these out and take a closer look at them. This right here just looks like your bog standard I/O controller card. We got an 8-bit ISA and an 8-bit ISA. It looks like the rest are 16-bit. Here's our video card, our VGA card. I do know I installed this just to see if it would work on my VGA monitor. So that's obviously not original. And here we have, it is the 512K system board right here. I believe the earliest models had 256, but Model 2 and 3 I believe had the 512. And then if you look here, you might not be able to see it here, but this is the CPU. So this is an 8 megahertz 286. I believe the Model 1 and 2, or the Type 1 and 2, either or, had a 6 megahertz 286. So the last model, the Model 3 of the motherboard, they upped it to 8 megahertz 286. Not blazing fast. I don't really consider the 8 megahertz 286 one of your classic kind of 286s. You know, I kind of like the 12 megahertz 286 if you really want to hit a sweet spot for 286s. The 12 or 16 megahertz. I don't know, 8 megahertz 286 kind of slow, but I guess it's better than 6 megahertz. So I'm going to take these cards out and we'll take a look. We'll talk about upgrades and then just put this thing through its paces and seeing how it runs. And here we go with all those cards removed. Bunch of chips that I have no idea what they do. Again, there's our CPU. The oscillator crystal right there, it's 16 megahertz, so CPU runs at half that, so 8 megahertz. Socket right there for our math coprocessor. It's empty right now. When we saw, that's our RAM. Slots for long cards like that hard drive controller card. So yeah, I don't want to take this hard drive out to look under there. It's just chips, random chips. Take a look at the front. Yeah, it looks like Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably original. So let's take a look at those cards real quick. Alright, so I'm not going to look at the VGA card really because that's just a placeholder. It's a Cirrus Logic 16-bit ISA VGA. Not really period correct at all, but it's just a placeholder to get video. So we have the I/O controller. Not much to say about it. I'm actually going to leave this out, I believe, and you will see why in a few moments, because it's just going to be redundant. And here is our hard drive, floppy drive controller. WDC, I believe. Yeah, not much to say about this guy, just an MFM hard drive controller. So I guess let's look at some upgrades that we want to try to do. So our first upgrade, very simple, just a 287 math coprocessor running it with a rating of 8 megahertz to match the CPU, although I believe it's going to be running at 4. I believe these run at half speed. Not really very useful at all. I'll probably never use it unless I maybe play SimCity on this, which I probably won't. But hey, why not? It's cheap enough, it's available enough, and I don't like having empty coprocessor slots, so should be just as easy as popping it in. Just make sure it's aligned correctly with the notch right there, if it focuses. So yeah, I'll just install this guy. This is a pretty banged up looking 287. Gee, I hope it... Oh, well, anyways, I hope it works. At the very least, it matches the computer. Uh-oh, is that pin bent a little bit? It is. Oh, well, I can... Focus, I can bend it back into shape. Okay, so with some careful maneuvering, the 287 is installed. Hopefully it works. I guess we will find out. So next upgrade. Alright, if you hear music from the neighbors, that's music from the neighbors. So this camera's mic is cruddy enough that it shouldn't pick that up, but if it does. Anyways, our next upgrade is I would like to remove one of these 1.2 megabyte floppy drives and replace it with a 1.44 megabyte drive in this bay adapter. Now the colors don't quite match up, but it's close enough, so should be as simple as removing this guy and installing this guy. Looks like the top one is drive A, and that's what I would like this to be, the A drive, so let's do that. And look, this one already has, I believe this was pulled from a 286 actually, and it already has the little edge connector adapter, so that is good. Okay, so I moved the little holding pin thingies here, so it should slide out. Now it's neat that there's space down here for actually another drive. You could probably put like a hard drive. Now let me see, where did I put the case? Doesn't have a, like, the cover of the case doesn't have a cutout for here, so you couldn't put like another like a CD drive or something like that, but I guess you could put like a smaller, like a newer hard drive down there, like a smaller form factor drive, and then maybe take this big guy out. But I'm not going to do that. I want to try to keep it original as I can. But that's pretty cool that there's that little space there. So we're just going to pull this guy out and put in the 1.44 megabyte drive. So ran into a little issue I forgot about. Molex power adapter. I thought I had one of those regular Molex to floppy style adapters, but apparently I do not. I have every other weird Molex adapter under the sun, but I do not have one of those ones, so that puts a little bit of a halt on at least this part of the project for now. I don't know, yeah, it doesn't look great, but it looks okay in there, but I'll probably just leave it in there for now. I can probably just, if I need to use a disk, I can probably just use this drive. That's a bummer. I'll have to order another one, so bleh. Alright, and I think another card I want to add is some kind of game port controller, so if I want to use like a some kind of joystick or something like that. And I have this kind of loose Game Card 3 automatic from CH Products sitting around, and this should like auto detect the speed of the bus, and it looks like it can handle 2 different joysticks here. I don't have anything but the cards. I don't know if it needs drivers for DOS. I believe this is more for like well, I want to say Windows, but the date says 1990, so you'd think it would be more oriented to DOS. So I don't know. We'll give it a try, see if it works. If it doesn't, I do have this also from 1990. This Craft Systems, which it's sealed, so all the software and stuff should be in there. Just a single one, but this should work fine. High-speed game card, covers computer speeds from 4.77 to 35 megahertz. So this should work if I can't get this guy to work. So, alright, so let's talk about sound for this guy. Now, really, 1984 computer, 8 megahertz, 286. We're mostly going to be just using that built-in PC speaker. But I decided to add some sound on here, so I went with a card I have never used in any of my machines before, and this is an Adlib. I mean, technically this card's probably a little much for this machine, but there's really no harm adding a sound card. There still should be a good bit of games that will run on this machine that can utilize the Adlib. Now, of course, the Adlib functionality was pretty much integrated in every card after the Adlib, because I believe it all used just simple over-the-shelf parts that anyone could get. There was nothing proprietary about it, so say like Creative Sound Blaster always had integrated Adlib sound capabilities. Now, this, you may notice, is a replica. It's a very good replica, but these cards go for stupid amounts of money, the originals. Just stupid amounts of money for something that's completely made up of over-the-counter parts. I just couldn't stomach. I usually like to go with like real authentic parts from the time period, but I couldn't stomach it. The price, especially for something that virtually every sound card has the ability to do 100% perfectly. So like I said, I did go with a good imitation. I went with a replica that looked the most like the original that I could find. These chips are even soldered on. They're not even socketed. Now this is a replica of the later model from like 1990. I believe the earlier ones had the larger jack, audio jack, but this should be 100% Adlib compatible. I don't even think you need drivers or anything for these cards. You just plug and play. You just install them and they work. There's the FM chip. These should be all the same chips and everything, so that's good to know. The guy, I got this off eBay, and the listing even said like he got this card and then he did something extra to it to make it even more authentic. I don't know what he meant by that. I don't know if he like soldered on a different, like a resistor or something. That's I don't know what he meant by that, to be honest. This looks pretty authentic to the original Adlib card, so we'll install the Adlib and we'll play some games that take advantage of that and see how it sounds. So something amazing kind of happened. Maybe 1 or 2 weeks after shooting the portion of the video where I was talking about the Adlib reproduction or clone, I actually came across the genuine article completely randomly for an insanely low price. So yeah, I haven't actually tested this card. We're going to put it into the IBM instead of the clone. We're going to put this original guy in and we're going to see if it works. So this is an original 1987, I believe, the original revision of it. It has the larger, I believe that's the 1/8 audio jack there. I'm guessing it should work. I mean, it's pretty simple, the components on there. But yeah, it looks like this is the real deal. I mean, there's really, technically the reproduction of the clone is probably, you know, better. Just, you know, I mean, they should sound exactly the same, but yeah, I don't know. These things go for, oh, I don't know, the original 87. I don't know. I've seen them go maybe as high as $500. give or take, 300 to 500. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. It's a collector's thing, which is funny because it's pretty much off-the-shelf parts. There's clones available. Any cheap sound blaster will do Adlib. But regardless, it's really cool to have an original in the collection. Hopefully it works. Now, for convenience, we're going to use one of these adapters here, the 1/8 to 1/4. So we can just put this one in, and then we can hook it up to the more standard, or at least the more common connection there for speakers and things like that, external speakers and headphones and stuff. So yeah, pretty cool. So that's a pretty cool pairing. This guy and then the original IBM EGA card. I just wish the 5170 was in better cosmetic condition, but what can you do? So yeah, really cool. So we're gonna install this guy too, and then we'll see if it works. And finally, for the video card, we have the piece de la résistance. It is an original IBM EGA card. Now, these things are getting hard to find. Yeah, so this is an authentic IBM EGA card. I believe these came out in 1984. Those look like composite connectors, but they're not. So those are just like feature connectors. We do have dip switches there to set what kind of monitor you're using. And it does use the old 15-pin TTL digital connector there. Now you can connect this card. This card is meant for an EGA monitor, but it will connect to a MDA or a CGA monitor. Right now I don't own an EGA monitor at all. I'd love to, but I only own VGA and CGA and MDA monitors. No EGA monitors, unfortunately. But this will work on a CGA monitor at lower capabilities. It won't support some of the modes on those monitors, and it works at like a lower resolution. But it's not a big deal. Most games should work just fine with this card on a CGA monitor. And we also have the memory expansion here. Seller told me this is the original memory expansion. These used to be rarer than the card itself. Lately, I believe there's some companies, third-party companies, that are making reproductions of this, but I believe this is an original one. Now, originally these come with 64K of memory on them. That's very low for an EGA card. A lot of games won't even recognize it and run. So if you have this original card, you really need this memory expansion that brings it up to 256K, I believe, which is the standard for EGA. So to really get use out of this card, you really want the memory expansion. Alright, well anyways, moving on to the next upgrade here is the Above Board Plus, and that's kind of why I am not planning to reinstall this I/O controller, because this adds memory and is an I/O controller. I believe it just has a serial and parallel port on the card as well, and I happen to have one here in the box. I haven't really tested it. I'm pretty sure it works. I believe it has, it can accept 2 megabytes. I believe it has the whole 2 megabytes on board. So that should bring our, well, I think 128 of that memory, I think you can allocate to get the full 640K of memory, and then we can use the rest as like extended or expanded. I always mix those up, but I don't know. We'll see. Let me get this guy out and take a look. Alright, we should have everything here. Here's a little thing you put in if you want to use it in an 8-bit slot, I believe. And we have it on 720, and I don't know if this is 360 or 1.2 megabyte floppy. And all our guides. This is hard to do with one hand, so excuse me. Alright, and here is the memory expansion card, 16-bit. I believe we have the full 2 megabytes. I believe that's the total this card can take, and it looks like it does have, it's the same I/O on there, parallel and serial, so this should make a nice replacement for the other I/O card and give us some memory, because this extra memory, it being a 286, I believe this board can take up to 16 megabytes of RAM, so but given the speed of the CPU, we're probably not going to really need more than like 2 megabytes that this card provides, so we should be good. Okay, so I don't see any switch blocks on this motherboard or the card, so I think it should be as simple as installing the card and then running the software and setting everything up through software, so we'll see. Alright, so here we have our machine. I'm about ready to test it. I don't know if this is going to be the final configuration we're going to go with, but I just want to see if it powers up, if some of these cards work. Now I know the memory card isn't configured yet, and I haven't run any kind of configuration setup programs or anything, so I don't expect everything to just work when I power it on, but I want to see what does work at this point. So have our 1.44 megabyte floppy drive installed. I don't think it's going to detect this right away. Might probably have to run something like gsetup. Here's our other 1.2 megabyte drive. We got our hard drive. So here we have our hard drive controller card. Next out we have for sound, we have our Adlib card, which I still can't believe I came across an original 87 Adlib card. That's crazy, especially for the price I paid for it, which, okay, I'll just tell you guys, I got this in a lot, and if you break it down, I probably paid about $2 for this thing. So if it doesn't work, I will be extremely disappointed, but it really won't be that much of a loss financially. But yeah, like, man, I can't believe I just kind of randomly came across this thing just a couple weeks after shooting the first part of this video and talking about having to buy the clone cards. But anyways, here's we have our memory card, which I know I have a setup pro. This isn't set up or anything yet. Here we have our EGA card. I think I'm told this works perfectly fine, but I don't know, so I'm really eager to see if this works. And then we have this game port card. And we have our 287 installed right there. And then also next to it is this little curious switch. Now, this is for video card, so I believe if it's set the other way with the switch towards the rear, you'd have an MDA card installed. Forward, it's a CGA card, and if you're using like VGA or EGA, it doesn't matter what position it's in. So right now I believe it's set in the CGA card color position, but I don't believe it matters if you're using an EGA or a VGA card. And we do know that our VGA card works, so I'm going to put this thing together and then power it on and see how far it gets this time. Alright, so I've got everything hooked up. I'm using the Tandy CM5 monitor. It's a CGA monitor. Now, there are switches on the EGA card, and I did set it for a CGA monitor. So it won't display like CGA colors. It will do the 16 colors on this monitor on a CGA monitor, but it won't be, I forget the exact numbers, but it won't display at the higher EGA resolutions, but it will display at lower EGA resolutions, which is fine for right now until if ever I get an EGA monitor, but until then we'll just have to go with a CGA monitor at lower EGA resolutions. Alright, so I'm going to power this guy on and see if we get any kind of image. Alright, and it looks like we're getting something. Memory error, I expected that. Diskette error, kind of expected that. Systems option not set. Run setup, I expected all that. So this is good. It's displaying. I think we can still get it to boot to the hard drive though. If I hit F1, so yeah, it should boot. It should still boot to that hard drive. Hopefully, even with everything not set up. Nope, it didn't. It didn't go to the hard drive this time. It went to basic. Okay, yeah, it just loaded to basic. So, but okay, this is a good start. Okay, so I'll just go from here. I guess it would probably help if I connected up the 3.5-inch floppy drive, which I didn't. I also have this thing that I want to try. In this, because obviously the battery is dead. So I bought one of these. It uses 4 AA. It should be 6 volts.
It didn't have the right connector, so I snipped off the connector from the dead battery, and then I connected it and soldered it, and I don't know, I'll put some batteries in there. Hopefully it works. I guess we will find out. And then just like that, it looks like the power supply died. So I had just had it powered up. It powered up fine. I powered it down. Now when I go to power it up again, nothing happens. I tried unplugging and plugging it back in, and I mean, I guess it's a very old power supply, so it's very possible it just up and died, which is unfortunate. So, okay, well, when I find a solution to this, I will be back. Okay, so I think there's something weird going on with the power supply. So I can get it to power up now, but like if I turn it off right now and then I turn it back on, it probably won't power back on. But if I give it a good like hit on the top, it kicks in. That's gonna probably be a problem when it's in the case, but we'll work with it for right now. Weird, not sure what's going on. Anyways, I was able to get it to boot into DOS with this Packard Bell MS-DOS 3.3 boot disk. And then once I was in DOS, I was able to run gsetup, and that's what we have here. So time and date's not correct, but you know, I've set the floppy drive. I believe the hard drive type is type 8. I've set the base memory, but I haven't set the expanded memory. Do have a coprocessor, and we've got EGA. So I don't know, I guess this will work if that battery thing I've rigged up is working. If not, it's not going to save any of this. But I don't know, I don't have any experience with these IBM ATs and the setups and stuff, so I guess we'll cross our fingers and see what happens. So about setup real quick, I guess I'll talk about that real quick. Now, as we know, most PCs do require some kind of initial setup or a reset up if, say, the CMOS battery dies. Usually this is just designating what type of floppy drive's in the hard drive, and usually that's enough to get you in and running. But IBM has always, at least in my experience, has been like really big on setup and setup programs. I mean, even in my late 90s IBM PL300 PC series, if you change anything, it throws an error on boot, and it wants you to go verify it in the BIOS. So you change memory, you change the video card, you add a mouse. You'll usually get some kind of setup error, and it will want you to go into setup and verify the change. It's kind of annoying. I see why they might want to have done that, but I don't know. So the earlier, I believe the PC, and I think the XT too, it did most of its setup on, you use switches on the motherboard to do the setup. With the AT, you have to use, and I believe some of the PS2 line as well, you kind of have to use a setup program. It's not in like a chip, I believe, or anything. Like, like later machines, you have the BIOS on the motherboard, and it's in there, and when you start up boot, you can get into the BIOS, and you can change the settings there. But with the AT and some other machines, you need a setup disk. Now, IBM had like an official setup program, but there's this program called gsetup. It's just a generic setup program, and that's what I'm using here. It tends to work better in some cases. If you watched LGR's video on the IBM AT, he had the official IBM setup program, and he couldn't get it to identify the 1.44 megabyte floppy drive. Well, he probably maybe had an older version of setup, but gsetup seems to work just fine. So I just wanted to go over the setup program since we'll be using it here. Alright, so let me demonstrate the power supply situation. So I've had it powered down, and I've unplugged it for, almost 10 minutes now. I want to see if that battery hack I put together is actually going to hold the memory. So flipping it on, nothing happens. Let's voila! Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there with that. So let's see if it actually saved the information. Okay, that's expected. The memory size error is expected. But I don't see the floppy error. Time and date, I didn't actually set that. So F1 key to resume, and it should boot from the hard drive. Yeah. So it's saving. It saved the settings, it looks like. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Alright, so moving on, let's set up the memory. Alright, so it must be doing something right. I restarted, and I still get the memory error, probably because I have the memory card still in there and I didn't set that. But it did boot to the hard drive this time, so looks good. I'm going to test the A drive here. Yeah, looks like it's working. It's a 1.44 megabyte drive. Let me run it. Alright, so we got check it working, which is pretty cool. It looks like on this hard drive we have DOS version 6, not 6.22. 286, it is detecting our math coprocessor, 287. Base memory, 512K. I haven't set up that extra memory yet. EGA video adapter. Floppy drives 1.44 megabyte and 1.2 megabyte. So far this all looks really good. So perfect. Let me main system. Let's run the benchmark. See what it says. There we go. 286 at 8 megahertz. And let's see the results. Slowly tabulating. And there we go. So, cool. Progress is always good. And if you can hear that, it's coming from a weird direction because I have the speakers off to the side, but that is the Adlib working. The original 1987 $2 Adlib card is working. I can hear it. This is great. And the cool thing about Adlib cards, I don't even, like, I didn't set up any kind of program or install. It just kind of works. Now, I don't know, there might be games that do require some kind of install or setup. I don't know off the top of my head, but like Prince of Persia, just works. So here it is with the Adlib, and we can see it's running an EGA. So the two big things that IBM EGA card and the 1987 Adlib seem to be working just fine. It actually sounds really nice. So this is really good. I'm really happy. So I'm gonna set up some things. Let's see. I think the next step now is we'll see if we get the memory card set up. This is really cool. I just wish I had an EGA monitor. Still looks really nice though. Alright, so unfortunately, well, it's over there right now. I'm moving things around. So unfortunately our memory board here, our Intel Above Plus in its nice box, seems to be defective. It's just not seeing the EEPROM. I tried it in a different computer, and that one won't even post if that card is installed. So I don't know what's wrong with that card. I'll have to figure something out, but fortunately I have another 2 megabyte Intel Above board, although this isn't a Plus, so there's no printer or parallel port on this one. So I'm probably gonna have to add another, like an I/O card with maybe like a serial and a printer port. I have somewhat tested this joystick card, and I think it works. I go into check it, and it says no joystick, but when I connect a joystick to this, it comes up and it tells me, you know, I have a joystick connected. So I think that's working. Alright, so now that we have the extra memory card installed, I've talked about this in my Anatomy of an 8088 video. We went over memory, different memory types on these older machines, but I have like a dyslexia when it comes to like XMS and EMS. There's extended, and what's the other one? Extended memory. There's conventional memory. That's easy. That's the first 640K, and then you have like extended and expanded, and I always mix them up. And I always confuse like which one's the one that's better to use, and this and that. And I think it depends on if you're
machine a little bit. I tried looking it up on Vogan's, whether you want to use extended or expanded on a 286. And I think the consensus is you're probably a little bit better off with extended. And right now I have it set for expanded. And it initializes that through software, I believe. Let's start it up here. Still having that issue with the power supply. There you go. Just needs a little touch. I don't know. Something might be loose in there. I'm either going to replace it or open it up and take a look. And yeah, so it will count up to the 640 because we're using the card to fill in all the way up to 640. And then it won't count anymore. And then, you know, okay, keyboard error. I think it's this keyboard. It's a little iffy. But it should, when it loads up to DOS, so I don't even know if it's going to register. Yeah, it's not going to register the F1 key. It's this keyboard. It's giving me troubles. Alright, so I put in a little bit more reliable keyboard. Alright, so I'm going to hit F1. If it's, sorry if it's a little fuzzy, I just couldn't get focus. Camera has a hard time focusing sometimes on these CRTs, so we're going to go forward, and then it should kick in to initialize the memory, which I have it set to expanded. So it's starting up MS-DOS, and it should be the first, yeah, here it is. So this is our expanded memory manager, and then it's counting up 2 megabytes, and then we get the total here, 1920 megabytes of the expanded, and then it goes in and loads this DOS shell. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to rerun the above board software, and I'm going to set it for extended. An extended memory, I believe, should register like right at the beginning when it's counting up the 640 of conventional. It should count like all the way up to the full 2 megabytes at that point. And I think that's what we want with these machines. Let me know for a 286 like this, primarily focused at gaming, if you want extended or expanded. I'm pretty sure I want extended. So I'm just going to rerun that software and set up, and then we'll get back to you. Despite the error, it looks like the memory is showing up. I'll have to do some more testing on that. And here's just the generic parallel serial card, 8-bit card I'm going to install. Alright, so I disabled the command line that was running that software for the expanded memory, the EMS, and I've reran the setup program, set board for the Intel above board, and I set it up for extended memory. Now, because this is a 286 at 6 or 8 megahertz or over, I was able to do the automatic setup, and now I'm just going into the G setup or the setup program, because, you know, IBM demands if there's any changes to the machine at all, you have to rerun the setup program. And I'm setting the expansion memory. I don't know why it's 2176K, but that's what's coming up when I reset the computer. It's counting all the way up to that number now. I thought it would be a little bit lower than that, so I don't know why it's coming up. It's that number, but I don't know. This is just a hobby. I'm not a technician or anything, so I'll just go with it and hope that works. So it looks like we're all set up here. Like I said, those batteries, this thing has been turned off. It's been plugged in but turned off for like a week now, and it's holding the settings. So that little makeshift battery is working apparently. So yeah, we've got everything set up here. Our hard drive, our floppy drives, base memory 640. There's our new expansion memory number, math code processor installed, and display is EGA, although we are using a CGA monitor. I do not have a fancy EGA monitor. Looking at you, Retrospector and LGR, but I guess the Adlib card and the IBM EGA card kind of make up for that. Although, to be honest, if I could swap that Adlib for an EGA monitor, I'd probably rather have an EGA monitor, to be honest. So, especially an IBM one. But anyways, alright, so I'm going to reset this thing, and we'll see if we get any errors, or if it will just go to the hard drive. So, fingers crossed. Alright. Alright, so we are rebooting, and the memory count should come up here in the corner now, and it should count all the way up past 640 now. Yep, there it goes. You know, 8 megahertz 286, it's going to take a moment. Probably in a 286, you really don't need more than 2 megabytes. Yeah, it goes to 2176. Still getting a memory error, but that's a new one. Parity check 2, I've never seen that before. Weird thing is I've run the diagnostic on that memory card several times, and all the memory chips are coming up good, so yeah, another fun error. Let's see if it will go into... Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what that's about. Maybe that's part of the whole getting that weird higher number. I don't know, but I mean, other than that little memory issue being sorted out, I think this machine, hardware-wise, is pretty much where I want it. It's very kind of more or less period correct. I mean, it's running DOS. I think it's running DOS 6.22. I think. No, DOS. That's right, DOS 6. I did not put that on there though. All right, and after checking running the diagnostic programs again, it's coming up. My board's operating normally. No memory issues were found with the memory on the card. So, yeah, this card used to be in another machine, and it initially did have memory errors, and I swapped out chips, and I got it working just right. And now that it's transferred over here, I'm running the tests again, and it's still working just right. Maybe it's that, I think it might have something to do with the memory count. I don't think that memory count is correct, so I'm going to try changing the memory count to like, well, I forget, 2048, I think. I don't know why it's saying it was counting up to that higher number, but I'll try changing it and see if that does anything. Alright, here we are back in G setup, and I've changed the expansion memory to 2048, even though it's counting up higher than that. So I don't know. I mean, since it's backfilling some of that conventional memory, or base memory as it says here, I feel like it should even be lower than that, but I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Since we're in this setup program too, I'd also like to point out another option is you can actually swipe out the BIOS in these IBM ATs with a different BIOS, and that is also an option for fixing you know, some issues. I don't know if it creates some compatibility issues, but I've seen a video by, I believe the YouTuber's Dave is his name, and he did a IBM AT video, and he just swapped out the BIOS, and it solved a lot of his issues. So I just wanted to point that out to you guys, that is another option. So let's restart again and see if I get any more interesting errors. Alright, so here we go. Let's see what it does this time. Sorry, it's a little blurry. It's hard to focus. This isn't the sharpest CJ monitor anyways, the CM5. I would love to get my hands on a CM11. But okay, so it's yeah, see it keeps going up. It keeps going up to 2176. So I don't know what's going on here, or why it's doing that. Maybe it's something I have to change in the above board setup program. But I ran the automatic. Looking at other people's memory setups, it looks the same. So I don't know. I might just run it for now, because it seems like at least filling in that conventional memory to 640. So I don't know. I might just run it like this for now until I get an answer, figure it out. Alright, I'm going to try running setboard, the setup program for my Intel Above memory card. One more time. You guys could come along this time. Maybe you can spot the issue here. So it is a 16-bit bus because it is a IBM AT. And then it takes a second to, excuse the glare there, to figure out the serial number. And there's the serial number. And then there's automatic and manual, but I'm going to do the automatic setup. And this is what it gives me, which looks correct because I was looking at other YouTubers that were setting things up very similar to my machine, and this is the numbers they got. except, well, they had a different base I/O address, but I don't think that's the problem. So we have conventional memory, 512 to 640, it's filling that in. The extended range, I know it starts at 1. Now it's a 2 megabyte card, so 1 to 2, 2 to 3. That makes sense as far as the range, because that's 2 megabytes there. Even though I feel like it should be less, because it is using some of that to, but I mean, I would assume the program knows how to set things up better than I. It doesn't have a serial or parallel port on this card. That is the correct processor speed, 8. It is a 286. I'm guessing that's the right I/O address. I assume it would know better than I would. So set it up. Please wait. Done. And then it's going to, where I don't have another card, eject the disk, press any key to continue. So now it's resetting itself. And it will take a second. Okay, there we go. It's going to count up the memory. If I can focus. There it goes, counting up the memory. Almost there. Yeah, see, I don't know why it goes to 2176. And then we get this issue again. So, I'm just not 100% sure what the heck is going on there. You know, and then it just, you can ignore it. If you just wait, it gives you the choice to go to F1. And then we hit F1. And then it loads up MS-DOS from that really old hard drive that's still cranking. So I'm not sure what the heck's going on there. So if we type in our mem command, let's see what it says. So we are getting conventional memory 640, used 111 for 529 free, which is pretty good for a 286. Then it says adapter RAM ROM, and nothing is showing up there. And then we have extended memory, which is what we have it set for, XMS, and we have 1536. And then it says used is 1536. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Okay, I see. Okay, this might solve the 2176K. It's adding. Okay, so that's conventional memory plus the extended memory, which doesn't seem right. So, yeah, there must be a setting somewhere that's just not right. So, I don't know. I mean, we've got 640, and that is good enough for the bulk of games that will run on this thing. So maybe. You know, maybe I'll figure it out between now and when I put this video out, and if not, you guys can let me know in the comments if you have an idea what setting is not set up correctly that's causing this issue. Well, I tried running setboard again for that above board, just changing some numbers around. I tried setting it up manually. I changed the I/O address to the first one. That seems to be what everyone else on the internet's using. So I don't know. It's still giving me the same like weird errors when I start up. It seems to be mostly working though. I seem, like I said 100 times already, I seem to still be getting my full 640K of conventional memory. So I don't know. It looks like I actually was having more luck when I had it set as EMS memory. So maybe I'll just go back to that. Let's just play some games on this thing, see how it runs, see if we run into any errors playing games. And like I said, you guys can let me know in the comments if there's a change. Should I just go back to EMS memory for this machine? Am I missing some kind of program? Do I have a setting that's off? Let me know. Just a note, that Intel above board was in a 8086 previously, and it worked flawlessly. No issues whatsoever. So, I don't know. Maybe it's the cursed IBM AT. But let's put some games in here. Just take a look at a couple games and go from there. Alright, well, I finally got my EGA version of VET to work. And it's like a different game in EGA compared to what I've played it in the past, either in Hercules, Monochrome mode, or CGA. It's a completely different different level in EGA. It actually looks pretty nice. So I'm not very good at this game, but we'll just play a little bit of it here. Now, I don't know, on an 8 megahertz 286, might still be running a little bit slow. It doesn't look as crazy as on my 20 megahertz 286, where I think it was running a little too fast. At least this scene with the car spinning. But yeah, this is like a completely different game. I don't think it supports any sound cards. So, and here we go. So we have to endure that speaker. I don't see any option to turn off the sound either. S key. But we'll leave it on just because it's annoying, and we'll just leave it on. But hello, there's a person. I don't even remember seeing people in the CGA version. Maybe I just didn't notice them. They blended in too well. But here we go. Yeah, just driving around. I believe this is San Francisco. Oh, spinning out. Truck down there. Bus. Yeah, this game is, I don't know. I'm getting a lot more entertainment out of it in EGA as compared to CGA. It's really like a nice step up. And yeah, this seems to be running just fine here. Alright, so I'm currently installing Knights of the Sky. Now this game does support Adlib sound. It also, according to the manual, requires 640K of memory, so we'll be making sure that is working. And it also requires the EGA card to have full memory, which we should with our EGA card with its memory expansion board. So I'm going to let this thing install, and then we'll see if it runs. I like how after installing Knights, it says, please ignore any batch file missing message. Batch file missing. So, okay. So we'll run it. And Knights of the Sky, blah blah blah. Do you have a mouse? I do, but I do not have one currently attached. Do you have a joystick? Not currently attached, so I'll put no. And then select graphics. We have Tandy CGA. It actually does support VGA MCGA, but we have EGA, so we'll go with EGA. Sound drivers. IBM sounds, speaker maybe? No sounds, Tandy sounds, okay. Oh, this supports a Roland MT32. But from the looks of here, at least this setup menu for this revision of the game, it looks like if you don't have a Roland, your best option is Adlib, or maybe Tandy sound. Sometimes Tandy speaker could sound better. I think in some games if they really poorly implemented Adlib, I think hearing that somewhere, but I can't confirm that. So we're just going to go with Adlib. And I just thought of something. My Adlib speakers are not plugged in, so hold on there. Alright, so again, speakers are like off to the side there, so if it sounds weird, that's probably why. But they seem to be working. Let me turn it up a little bit. So we got some nice old-timey style music through the original Adlib. Let's take the pup up. I've never played this game before, so expect me to suck really bad if I can even get anywhere. Let's accept this bass. Alright, so I'm in the air. If you hear that pop, that's again horrible engine sounds. That seems to have been a thing with games and their terrible engine sounds. It's actually not that terrible compared to some. Now there's a plane I see in the distance. I'll enter. There's our machine gun, but that plane I'm sure is way too far away. Now I think this game is probably playing slow because I believe a 286 is like the minimum for the CPU. And I can tell it is running, it seems to be running a little slow. So I would probably recommend a faster CPU for this game, but I just wanted to see if it would even work. If it would even work. Let me crash. I just want to see what happens if I wreck here. We'll get a little illustration. Come on. Crash! Crash! Doesn't want to go down. So there we are. Yeah, it's... Woo. That should do it. Or, well, maybe it's because I'm on like training mode or something. But, yeah. There we go. That's a quick look at Knights. That's a quick look at Knights of the Sky. Alright, and let's try some Duke Nukem. The original, not 3D, obviously. This works? I don't think this game supports Adlib. Pretty sure it doesn't. Yeah, there we go. Good old PC speaker. And it's... we're waiting. There we go. Ah! It's been a long time since I played this. I don't even... Okay. Now this seems perfectly playable, but I have played this on other systems. It does feel like maybe it's a tad slow, but I mean it's still, this is completely playable. But it just kind of feels like you could feel a little tiny bit of hesitation or slowness. Ooh, maybe that's just me. What's going on? Oh. I never really played this game back in the day, if you could probably tell by my gameplay here. But yeah, it's working, so very, very cool. And that, guys, is my IBM 5170. Now this machine was a noticeable leap over the PC and even the XT, although certain models of the XT286 apparently, I've been told and read, do run a little bit faster due to weight states, but there's still just so many improvements with this IBM AT. I do like this computer. You know, I say this a lot about IBMs. It's a nice case, it's a great computer, but if you want a 286, I still wouldn't go for this, just purely from a practical point of view with gaming and just everything. I mean, the whole setup, even with G setup, it's annoying. I mean, you can change the BIOS, but that's annoying. You're probably just better off with a generic 286. If you want a 286 to just game on, you're just better off with a compatible that doesn't have to deal with any of that stuff. But it's an IBM. People love IBM. It's an IBM. So, I mean, if you're a collector, you know, 5170, it's a cool machine. If you're just a casual and you want to play games on a 286 for some reason, I would go with, you know, just a compatible machine, an IBM compatible 286. It probably has a faster CPU in it. You know, because 8's a little slow. If you're going for 286, I'd say at least go for like 12 or 16. In my mind, is kind of like the quintessential 286s. But yeah, if you do want the IBM though, if you do want a little bit faster version, remember, keep in mind that there is a 6 megahertz version of the AT as well as the 8 megahertz. So you might want the later one if you want a little bit more power. This machine, it's got some really cool parts. That Adlib card is awesome. The IBM EGA card is really awesome too. I'm not 100% happy with this machine though. I'm still having issues with that Intel above board. I even switched back to using what I was using originally, the EMS memory, and I'm still getting a memory error. So I'm not sure what's going on. It still seems to be working. I was going through my games that I could just casually get to that were kind of within reach, and I was struggling to find anything that would run acceptably on this machine that would actually need more than 640K of like the conventional memory. So it's not really an issue, but I would like to get that figured out. Do I have more plans for this machine? I kind of do. Like I said, and like you've seen, this is in terrible cosmetic condition. Now, I've never done like case restores, really, but I might attempt to sand this case down and like paint it. Now, I did pick up some paint. Now, spray painting isn't always like the best option, but I think if we sand it down real nice and I try to do a decent job with this, it would probably look like pretty decent, at least better than it does now. You know, at least like sitting on the shelf here. If you go up and inspect it, you can probably see lines from the spray painting. But I don't think I can make it look any uglier than it does now with all the rust and stuff, so I might go that way. The front plate here, I'm going to try to clean up some more. If I have to paint it, I did pick this up. What is it? Satin white. And I did test it out on this. This is black originally, and it actually looks pretty close. It looks really good. So I might repaint the front, maybe. Like I said, I want to figure out that issue with the memory and get that sorted out. And I may just clear this hard drive on here. I'm going to keep it, but I might wipe it and just reinstall DOS. Though I think I want to go like hardcore period correct, as far like late 80s, so like 1988, 1989 sort of setup. I don't really want to go with DOS 3, even the later versions. Now DOS 5 came out in what, like 90 or 91. That's a little out of my time frame, but I don't know, what a DOS version for like 88, 89. We got DOS 4. I've never used DOS 4 before, but I hear it's terrible. But hey, I might give it a try. Maybe some of the other versions like PC DOS. I don't know. If you got any suggestions for like a 1988, 1989 DOS to put on here, let me know. I might go with one of the later versions of DOS, like 3.3. I might even go with DOS 5 just for use. But I really would like to stick to that kind of 89, 88 time frame. And other than that, not much else. So I might do, if I do that, if I do a decent job on restoring the case, even if I do a bad job on restoring the case, I might do a part 2 on my 5170, and I might show you guys how that turns out. And if I like wipe the hard drive and I just start over and I get the memory working and stuff, I might, hey, you never know. If I do a part 2 on this video and I do those things, I might actually even have a actual EGA monitor that I can kind of compare with this one and do some things in like slightly higher resolution, perhaps. Maybe, I don't know. We're hoping. I mean, you never know. It could happen. I've never come across a true EGA monitor in all my years of looking like, and I'm not even talking about the IBM one, any EGA monitor, but keeping my eyes peeled, and I don't know, hopefully we'll do a part 2 on my IBM 5170. So if you guys like this video, let me know in the comments. I didn't know you could do it without putting a name in. But yeah, if you like this kind of video, like this kind of content, let me know in the comments, subscribe, hit the like button, all that stuff. And I love hearing your guys' stories. So if you guys have stories about your IBM AT, let me know. And of course, as I've said multiple times already, I could use any of your guys' inputs on, you know, DOS versions that I get throw on here for that time period, and what might be going on with that memory, because even after switching back how I had it originally, I'm still getting a memory error, and all my diagnostic tests say the card's running fine and the memory's fine, so who knows. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.